All right, you guys, I'm gonna play this video for you real quick. Then we're gonna get into this discussion.
Allowance pro tip. Tell your parents to save money on wireless and give you a raise.
Switch to Xfinity Mobile and save 25% over T-Mobile and get the best price for 2 lines of unlimited. Just $30 a line per month.
Bud Light's parent company Anheuser-Busch is facing massive losses after its controversial partnership with transgender activist and influencer Dylan Mulvaney. The beer giant has seen its market value plummet nearly $5 billion since announcing the partnership with Dylan, a decision which was reportedly made without input from senior executives. Can we fact check that? And just days before the partnership went public, Bud Light's vice president of marketing outlined her plan to drastically overhaul the brand's image.
So I had this super clear mandate. It's like we need to evolve and elevate this incredibly iconic brand. What does evolve and elevate mean? It means inclusivity. It means shifting the tone. We had this hangover. I mean, Bud Light had been kind of a brand of bratty, kind of out of touch humor, and it was really important that we had another approach.
Why do these people on the left like redefine words? Elevate. You get into an elevator. Elevate means rise. Evolve means you grow. It doesn't necessarily mean what she said. You know, this is not a DE&I moment necessarily, but here's what's interesting. How could all of that be going on a Zoom and not one single senior executive knew that the whole company, Anheuser-Busch, was about to make an image switch?
So this is why the DEI stuff is so corrosive. So this is a marketing manager for a beer company, and she thinks her job is to evolve and elevate and raise and increase inclusivity. She's a beer salesman. The job of a marketing manager at Budweiser is to sell Budweiser. And so the question should be in the marketing meeting, is this going to sell more beer or is this going to hurt our beer sales? And the fact that nobody was willing to raise that question, why is that? Because maybe they'd be labeled transphobic. Because maybe their words would create a hostile work environment. Right now, LinkedIn says the second fastest growing job in America is DEI manager. That means that every major company in America is hiring a political commissar whose job is to promote inclusivity and push down the people who would say, this might be a dumb idea. This is not necessarily our demographic. We've got to sell beer. And you got all these young people who want to work for social justice organizations, but they don't want social justice organization salaries. She's making $450,000. Go, quit your job, take a pay cut, and go work for social justice if that's what you want to do. Otherwise, sell beer.
Carl, where are all these people getting all this?
The latest fallout, 2 top marketing executives on leave, a company spokeswoman telling the Wall Street Journal. So what spurred all the backlash about beer?
Impressive carrying skills, right? I got some Bud Lights for us.
It follows a polarizing and brief brand partnership with trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney during March Madness, who told her 1.8 million followers on Instagram that Bud Light sent her a can with her face on it, celebrating her first year as a woman.
Whatever team you love, I love too.
But for some fans of the brand, it was no cause to celebrate.
Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch.
The hashtag Bud Light boycott appearing online, and viral TikTok showing users pouring out the beer, destroying cans, and even going as far as pretending drinking the beverage leads them to change gender. Offline, a Florida restaurant refusing to sell Bud Light, telling our affiliate they removed the drink from its menu because transgenderism is in direct opposition to their biblical faith. But as the culture wars swirled around Bud Light, memes turned into misinformation. Videos like this surfacing, purporting to show mountains of their beer being steamrolled. When really, it was a video of beer that was seized at the border being destroyed after the pandemic. And another clip circulating showing a, quote, crybabies billboard that Bud Light did not actually put up. One marketing expert says sometimes instigation is by design.
I do not believe
I'm gonna pause it there. I'm gonna pause it there. And I promise you it's all gonna make sense. And this is gonna lead into a more powerful discussion, because we're talking about, as you guys see the thumbnail, the Black Agenda Movement. The Black Agenda Movement. You guys, I had an opportunity, was really, really blessed and grateful to have an opportunity to speak at this event, attend this event, and I have a lot to share. And I wanted to play this clip first before I said anything, because it's going to tie into the solution. It's going to tie into the solution. For those who are not aware of the whole Bud Light situation, it's a mess. It's a hot mess. I know people are probably going to say, well, what does Bud Light have to do with this? Whew. It has a lot. I'm going to wrap it around. So before I get into all of that, welcome you guys as you come in. Welcome in. This is, I was excited to talk about this. A lot has happened over the last 2 weeks. Last weekend was amazing at the event, 2-day event, talking about solutions, talking about the issues that are impacting the Black community, talking criminal justice, media influence, politics, technology, just kind of the new thing that's sweeping this country. And we don't want to be left behind. And so shout out to the founder, the organizer, Michi X. Those who know, she is a phenomenal activist. She shares her wisdom on social media, but she actually does real work in real time. I've had an opportunity to see how this whole thing unfolded, how it was established, created, and I was impressed. A lot of great speakers, a lot of great talent showed up. The place was packed, every seat filled, a lot of vendors. The food was good, and the conversations were good. And it actually went by faster than I thought. You know, I was a little nervous, right? I haven't been on a live police panel like that. And so that was new for me, and it was a good experience. I've been on panels before, but it's different. I guess every panel is different, or every event is different. And so the energy in that place was very positive. Shifted to some emotions. It got very intense. There are moments of laughter. There was moments of comedy. There were moments of sadness. And there were moments of just pure realization that, you know, here are some tough conversations. I will say that I learned a lot. It also inspired me to want to push forward. There were a lot of people who were there who were excited. They were excited that I was there. So that felt good, right? That also felt good. Knowing that there are people who see value in what you're doing. But 99.9% everybody came from Michi, right? So I may have got 0.005%, but it felt good. Nonetheless, it felt good. I had people come up to me and say that my content and what I do has inspired them to speak out. I've met people who've worked in different capacities of the criminal justice system, some in the federal side, who came up to me and said, hey, listen, I love what you're doing. We need more of this. We appreciate you. Keep up the good work. You know, there was a young man who came up to me who said he grew up against the police and lived a life that was criminal in nature. And he despised the police. and we had a great conversation on the side. He told me that my channel really helped inspire him to see things differently, and him wanting to give back to the community and be a positive influence. I think there's a difference between people who come on YouTube or any social media platform and they talk a good game, you guys. And there's others who YouTube and social media is an extension of the work they do in real life. I had an opportunity to meet people at this event whose voice transcends over social media. They are actually doing work in real life. And I think that's the purpose of the stream, to just talk about that. That there are people who are doing the work. We just need to multiply. We need to replicate it, right? We need to create something that can become consistent to where the benefits are measurable, extremely measurable, and it requires us to work together. I was impressed with some of the organizations that were there. And again, it's nothing but inspiration for me. You guys know that the Blue Phoenix, my organization, is about repairing the relationship. It's about letting police know that your service matters, you know, that you are appreciated, you are loved by the community. Don't get it twisted. You know, two things can exist at the same time. We want you to do better as officers. At the same time, we don't want to let you go either, right? We recognize that we do need law enforcement, we do need the criminal justice system. We just want it better. And for those who don't want it, we got solutions for that too. I met some brothers at the event who they patrol their own communities. Detroit, there's a chapter, New Era Detroit. I believe there's a New Era Atlanta, and I didn't get a chance to. I meant to link up with this guy before he ended up leaving, but I plan on connecting up with him, and I want to interview him on this channel so people can see what these gentlemen are doing, where the men are volunteering to protect their communities. You know, saying, hey, we don't necessarily need the police. We could be a buffer between law enforcement and start patrolling and protecting our own communities. It's possible. It's absolutely possible. So shout out to New Era Detroit. As you know, we had a lot of speakers. I don't want to rumble off the names. I'm gonna miss some, but there are some things that were said that really spoke out to me. I thought was very powerful. And there was there were two people who stood out to me. We're gonna get to it. Shout out to Angela Stanton as well, Angela Stanton King. She was also present. She also does. She has a nonprofit, Auntie Angie's House, I believe, and so she's doing work over there too. I'll have to put the link of that stuff in the description so you guys can check her out as well, and the work that she's doing with women and kids. She's a strong advocate on helping women and children, and so. You know, there was a lot that was said at the event. Whew, 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 boy, listen. I was in two places. My mind was focused on going up on the stage, right, in front of all these people and having a difficult conversation. Then I was also in the place of admiring the talent that was around and being a part of the audience. I was trying to be a part of the audience, but then also focus on what I needed to do as well. As you can imagine, being at the Black Agenda movement and having a conversation about the police, the criminal justice system, and you do feel a little bit outnumbered. But I wasn't nervous. But I wanted to make a good impact. I wanted to make a good impression. So, so let's dive into it. Shout out to Michi. Michi's in the she's also in the chat. Shout out to you. Again, thank you so much, Michi, for that opportunity. I truly enjoyed myself. I had an amazing time. The event was amazing. The VIP event, Michi put together a class act show from top to bottom. It was great. It was great. There just wasn't it's weird. It was like I was like, I told myself, all right, we're here from 9 o'clock to damn near 6 o'clock. There was not enough time. There just wasn't, it just wasn't enough time. Even it just felt like it didn't even feel like all day, but there still was so much. The information was so rich. It was so rich. And it still wasn't enough time. I was on the stage twice, and it just felt like everything blew by. We're up there for an hour. By the time we dived in, it was so much. It was so much, but the information was valid. It was on point. So, where do I start? Let me see. I'll be taking questions at the end of this as well, but I wanted to just highlight it because this is what it's about, you guys. I think the idea is to get people together and build. That's the key. I think when I spoke to Michi about it, she was explaining to me her vision. And she said she wanted to link people together, those who might not know each other. So we're not stepping over each other, right? I'm trying to do what you're trying to do. We link each other together so that we can be more effective. And this leads me into this statement. Because I thought Michi did this phenomenal closing statement at the end of the event. And I was just really impressed, you guys. So, teamwork. This is something that was echoed throughout the event. Not just teamwork, but vetting. Being able to identify those who are genuine, those who have their heart in the right place, those who operate with integrity, those who are not persuaded, those who are mission-minded. Being able to identify those people who can be trusted. And I think this is where it all comes down for me. Because what was shown and expressed during the event, my favorite panel was the political panel. And I know Michi's going to put all this stuff together. I know she's going to release like a video about the event and all that kind of stuff. All right, cool. My favorite panel was the political panel. I wasn't even on that panel. I was enjoying that panel. I forgot to even record. I was just kind of listening. Everything was just very captivating, what was being said. I agreed with a lot of things that were being said. And I think there was a lot of gems to take away, you guys. I took notes. And so I want to share with you what I learned. And I want to echo those things because it's what I believe. And it's what I believe we need to, as a collective, how we need to move forward addressing these things, especially in politics. I showed you that video earlier in the stream. I want people to see that first thing, right? For a reason. Because this is about solutions. But before you can get into solutions, you have to dive into the mindset, the mentality. And this is something that got brought up. They discussed why we have the same outcomes we continue to have, why we seem kind of stagnant in this process of progress. And a lot was alluded to the mentality. And then also how easy we can be manipulated, how we can be finessed by grifters, right? People kept saying the whole skin folk ain't kin folk quote, that quote. And how we're so quick to dismiss people simply because they have a difference in opinion, or they might not agree with us on certain things, and we're quick to just push them off to the wayside. And so they talked a lot about that and how dangerous that is. How dangerous that is. So what was said? Teamwork. You know, there was one gentleman, shout out to him, bless his heart, right? He came up there and he talked about, and I understood his position. You know, understood his position. He said, we hate police. No police are good. Can't trust them. I respect that. I respect how you feel. But truth of the matter is, that's not the proper mentality to have when talking about combating the issue. So we talked about things regarding to fixing the criminal justice system. We talked about things regarding racism and policing, systemic racism, right, and things of that nature. And how do you fight that? How do you combat that? Well, power works in a particular way where you have to be empowered to have power. You have to empower yourself. You have to put yourself in position to change things, especially if the people who are currently in that position are not doing their job properly, i.e. being racist, i.e. discriminating, i.e. right, wicked intentions, who knows, right? The whole idea is that we have to put ourselves there. We have to remove the people who were there. It's just that simple. There's no other way around it. There's no other way around it. At some point in time, we have to do. We have to do. And by doing, then you remove, replace. Teamwork. Because someone has a different opinion than you, though you're on the same team, you have the same objective, you have the same goal, but maybe you disagree on a couple things. Maybe you have different political affiliations. Maybe your religion's different. Maybe you're biracial. Maybe you're a descendant of immigrants. Maybe you're a lot of things. But what you are is someone who is fighting for the cause, someone who is using their resources, their talent, their education to bring about a change. Some people want to change things because it's just the right thing to do. And that was something that was echoed. And he talked a lot about how we've gotten so comfortable making decisions based off of skin color or identity politics, and ultimately not paying attention to the person's character. It's almost like you have two people. You have one person, both of them are black, right? You have two people, both of them are black. One's a Republican, one's a Democrat. The Republican, let's just say, right? The Republican is saying all the things needed to actually repair a community that they service, right? Everything that they're saying is for the benefit, and you can see it. You can see it. You can tell these are exactly what's needed. Then you have the Democrat who's doing the opposite, the absolute opposite of what will actually better the community. And what they were pointing out on this panel is that majority of us in our community will just choose the Democrat. We'll just choose the Democrat. And we never take time to look at their actual policy. We never take time to look at exactly what they're doing, what they stand for, and ultimately ends up hurting us. And you guys, they were Republican, they were Democrats, they were independents. There was a mixture of everybody on the stage. And they all agreed on the same thing, that you don't have to like either side. All that stuff doesn't matter. Don't even pay attention to skin color. What you need to pay attention to is, are the policies in the best interest of our community? Vote based off of policy. Damn a skin color. Now I know how that sounds. But what they're talking about was a mind shift. A mind shift. Now, me personally, some people might hear me talk and say, okay, he's probably a Republican. You guys, actually, I'm independent. I don't like either side. I think both sides full of shit, to be honest with you. And I don't trust politicians like that. I don't. I vote based off of what's in the best interest of myself, what's best interest of my community. And that's it. And that's it. I separate the emotions out of this thing. I'm gonna tell you, there was a gentleman up there named Kwame Kilpatrick. I don't know much about him, but he was up there speaking about these political things. He said something that really, really sparked my interest, and I thought was spot on. What did he say? He was talking about how within the Black community, how we do politics, how we are so easily persuaded off of what? Emotions. And at the time, I believe he was the mayor of Detroit. Apparently there's some controversy behind his service and stuff like that. I don't know all the details. I'm just telling you what the brother said on the stage that moved me, and I was just kind of like, okay, this is interesting. Now, here's the thing. Kwame spoke about the mentality of Black voters. He talked about how he was able to weaponize being a part of the Democrat Party at the time. He said that all he had to do was tell you that this Republican or this candidate that I was against, all I have to do is tell you that that person's a racist, or that person may not like Black people, or whatever. And it could not be true. There's a possibility it might not be true, right? He's given an example. He's saying, all I have to do is tell you that this is who they are. And he said, Black people would believe me. I can make you hate the other party without you ever even looking into who they are. I can make you hate the other. I could say one thing that'll cause you to reject anybody else and choose me, even though you won't even know who I really am. You guys, when he said that, now I was shocked. I was shocked. I was shocked that someone's willing to tell the truth. What was he talking about? He was talking about how easily we can be manipulated through our feelings, through our emotions, and how politics plays on our emotions. In order for us to vote a particular way, even when it's not in our best interest. I was blown away because it's true. It's true. I mean, and the way he said it was like, he's like, listen, you guys, we are so easily swept away. And we never take the time to look into this candidate, look into these judges, look into these prosecutors. Who are you voting for? Do you really know? Do you really know what they stand for? Or are you just doing it because you see that letter D in front of their name? Some of y'all just vote Democrat all down the line. You don't even know who the person is, what they stand for. You guys, he was being honest. You know, this event was about solution. What's the solution? We have to start being honest with each other. And every time someone's trying to be honest, is not us trying to attack, not us trying to belittle, right? Being honest is a form of protection. When I come on this channel, I'm honest with you guys. And it's not because I'm trying to make fun of anybody. It's because without the truth, guess what? You're going to make bad decisions. Without the truth, it changes your perception of reality. People don't want you telling the truth. People get offended by the truth. The truth is, we're easily finessed through our emotions. Why, you guys? Listen, as being Black, one thing I've noticed is we are some loving, forgiving, supportive, emotional creatures. So emotional, you guys. And it's not bad, but too much of anything is a bad thing. There's a time and a place. What did he say? He said, I play on the race card and I can get Black people to do whatever I want them to do. I use racism to manipulate voters. That's what he's saying. Man, listen. That's why the media does it. The media does it all the time. Just did it recently with this Don Lemon being fired and then Tucker Carlson being fired. Everybody's like, look how they fired the Black man. You know, look how they did him. Look at the headline, right? People are saying it's racist. You know, but if you know the story behind Don Lemon, no, you guys, he effed up a lot. A lot. I'm gonna do a stream on that because I got to break down all that stuff. He got into that argument with the Indian guy. You know, he did. Don did stand up. He stood up He stood up wrong. He stood up and he stood up wrong. You guys, there's, believe it or not, contrary to all of our beliefs, we have to be professional. There are certain places, your job, you have to be professional. Don stood up. He stood up the wrong way. He stood up the wrong way. And it was his lack of professionalism that got him fired. His lack of professionalism got him fired. You know? So Don was wrong. He handled that horribly wrong. What did Don do? He allowed his emotions, because someone was talking about race. He allowed his emotions to impact his ego, and his ego flew into his behavior, and his behavior got him fired. Ego, man. Emotions. He lost control. He lost control of his emotions. Why? Because someone was talking about race and he was offended by it. And he got fired. We have to, I know people don't like it when I say it. We can't be so triggered, you guys. Because that's how people play us. They talked about grifters. They talked about people in Black skin confusing Black people, finessing us out of our own money. You guys, we have it in our community right now to this day. So there lies the issue. There lies the issues. You know, pull up my little. The reason why I say teamwork, one of the things they talked about, I felt it was very important. They talked about how we divide ourselves up amongst each other simply because we have a difference in opinion. What do you see when you see someone who, what if I was Republican? People probably think I'm a conservative or whatever. I have conservative views, I have conservative values, but I'm an independent. So I hear how we talk to other Black people when we disagree with them. It don't matter if you are a foundational Black American. It don't matter if you're ADOS. It don't matter if you this, that. It don't matter if you're biracial. Some of y'all talk about this pro-Black stuff and barely got 2% of melanin in your skin. Some of y'all are a quarter Black, if that. But then what ends up happening is that when people who have a difference of opinion come together, and you don't like what someone says, they don't agree with you, they don't have this hive mentality, what happens? You call them a coon. You call them a sellout. You say they're not Black. Somebody's in charge of an organization that hands out Black cards, from my understanding. We saw that recently here on YouTube with this thing with Just Pearly Things. You guys, I reviewed the video, looked at it. It was 3 hours. It was a 3-hour interview. I was like, wow, this is a very interesting interview. It was actually a good interview. You know, Pearly Things. She said some things that weren't appropriate. I believe it was taken out of context based on what I saw. Gave my honest opinion. My honest opinion, just an opinion. An opinion that's open for constructive debate, discussion. An opinion that's open for dialogue, civil discourse. Not in the Black community. If you don't go, she said my opinion was wrong. Might be. But because I had a different opinion, now granted, listen, I didn't agree with her. I wasn't even choosing her side. There was no side to choose. It was just saying, hey, based on what I saw, you guys, I think you guys are taking it out of context. I think you missed the point. Hey, listen, I think you didn't look at this properly. Hey, that 5-minute clip is not going to do it, you guys. You got to see this whole entire thing to understand what was being said. I said, hey, guys, hold on one second. Before you say that, take a look at this. Hey, hold on. Before you make a judgment, look at this. And you know what was said? I said, no, Nathan, you know what? Nathan, you are supporting a white supremacist. Nathan, you're a coon. Nathan, you're a sellout. Nathan loves white women. I've never been with a white woman before, right? I love sisters. I like all shades of brown, I have nothing against white women, all shades of brown. But this is what happens. This is what happens in we can't have a difference of opinion. Now, I know what I listen to, and I know a lot of people are wrong in their assessment of her. Come and challenge me on it. Let's debate the points. Let's talk about it. How can you have a conversation with me about something you didn't even watch the video? People are creating a narrative off of something that they didn't even see. I'm just saying. We are quick to cut each other's throats. over pettiness. Over pettiness. Over pettiness. And even if I'm wrong, listen, even if I'm wrong, we can't respectfully have a disagreement. You have people who want to do certain professions in this country. I mean, policing is a perfect example. And we'll call each other coons. You're a coon, you're a slave catcher, you're a sellout, you work for the white man. And be like, sir, I work in Memphis. 80% of the police department's black. All the leaders are black. The Board of Education black. Everybody's black. We run in this city. You feel the same way about Atlanta. What they talk about at the Black Agenda, they said this is dangerous, right? It's not to say you don't have people who are black who don't have your best interests. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who may disagree with you on something, but they have the heart, they're doing the work, they have the resources, they mean well, they're doing well, and we excommunicate them. We excommunicate them. We call them tethers. Right? Call them tethers, immigrants, sellouts, coons. Uncle Toms, Sambos. We do it to ourselves. We absolutely do it to ourselves. And that was my thing on the panel, talking about, well, how do you fight racism in policing? How do you fight racism in the criminal justice system? How do you do it? Well, you need black people to do it. Well, black people say they don't want to do it because if you do it, you're a sellout. If you do it, you're a coon. Well, shit, I don't want to do it then because I don't want my people going to disown me. I have people who reach out to me for consultations about wanting to be police officers, or they're putting in their application. And you know what the number one question they always ask you guys? How do you manage being disrespected by the people you're serving and still serve? Could you imagine? That's the number one question. You know why they ask me that? Because they see how people disrespect me on YouTube. They see how black officers disrespected in real time. You guys, this is us. No one wants to be a police officer. Not even black people want to do it. Not even black people want to do it. And the ones who do, they're afraid to be insulted, shamed, and disrespected by their own people. And we're talking about FBA black folks, right? You guys listen, you guys can call me names. Cool. But what about people who are FBA, who are foundational black Americans who are descendants of slaves? They want to do the job because they see value in helping and supporting their community. They want to do it the right way. They don't want other people who don't look like them patrolling and policing their people. What do you say to that? What do you say to that? Who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? We have black teachers who don't want to be teachers. And when you ask them why, they say, can't deal with these. Can't deal with these nigglets. You crazy? You got teachers afraid to teach because they're afraid of getting hurt. Just the last couple months, black teachers getting beat up in school by black kids. Our children from our community. What's the answer, you guys? What's the answer? I posted that video in the comment section about Chicago. What's the solution? Teens taking over Chicago. You see specks of white and a sea of brown. Specks of white. You see some, a sea of brown kids. Us. And then you see a line of police officers, all white. Standing by and let people cartwheel on top of cars, kick people's windshields in, completely eviscerate a Walmart. And you turn around and I show up with solutions and you call me a coon. And other black men and women are watching you do it. And they email me and say, I want to be a police officer, but I don't know if I can handle the insults and the disrespect from my own people. And then guess what, you guys? Then you're forced to deal with white people to patrol your communities. So what was my answer on stage? Nathan, how do you deal with racism and the criminal justice system? You do the job. Black people have to do the job. Black people have to do the job. Operation Chocolate Chip. Put yourselves in positions of power. People say we got corrupt prosecutors in the judicial system. Yeah, that's true. Corrupt lawyers, true. Corrupt judges, true. They're all white, handing out football numbers and sentences. Yes, this is true. How do you fix it? We need more of us in there. Be the whistleblower. Keep people in line. Get people in check. We got to be there, you guys. I mean, it doesn't work where the issues that we have policing criminal justice system, they're legitimate. They're legit, real issues. But then we're complaining about it from the people who are doing the job. Okay, that's fine. But then you yourself don't want to do the job and replace them. It doesn't make any sense. What's the solution? We have to act, you guys. We got to do it. We got to do it. Be the teacher, be the police officer, be the attorney, be the judge. Impact the change in real time. We've been talking about correctional facilities and how they're abusing, okay? Be the right one. Go in there, clean it up, call it out. Because I tell you what, when you start doing the job, you start seeing things differently. You start seeing things a little differently. And it will open your eyes up. Let me get into this. Shout out to I am Courtney Michelle. Let me get my hold on. Let me get my actions going. Thank you. She says, you are appreciated. Thank you, my dear. Thank you. And listen, it is it's one of those things where it does feel good to be appreciated. I think sometimes I come into this space, I come into these conversations, I could be a little misunderstood sometimes. I think people have a weird, I don't know, people hear certain things, I think, throughout this space from people who maybe don't like me and stuff like that. And next, you know, there's all these little rumors that go around on YouTube saying, he's a sellout, he's a this, he feels about that. And then when people come to the channel and they start seeing the content, right? People, I don't know. It's weird. But I definitely appreciate that. And thank you so much, Courtney. You know, I wonder if, when we talk about solutions, a big part of people giving up is because they're not appreciated, and that was one thing we brought up in the discussion as well. Shout out to Michi. She called it out. She said, listen, we get into this habit where we talk about Black-owned businesses and we start saying that Black-owned businesses aren't good. They're not good, blah, blah, blah. We start putting down Black people who are doing these jobs, and we're putting out these negative stereotypes about our own businesses. Now we know there's some Black businesses that be acting up, right? But they're all businesses act up, no matter what ethnicity it is. And so one thing that she called out, I thought was really, really true, is that instead of saying these, Black businesses ain't shit or whatever, we just acknowledge that this is a bad business and we're not going to support it. Let's not label it of saying it's Black bad businesses, right? And so I think that also is a really, really big thing. Because a lot of times, again, you guys, when we're not supporting each other, even though we can disagree on things, there are people who are really trying to bring about some real change and some real solutions. And sometimes we get caught up dealing with people who aren't trying to do that. And it's getting to a point to even in online where it's hard to distinguish between those who are really trying to do something and those who are here for shits and giggles, along with earning an income. So that's the problem. Shout out to you again, Courtney. I appreciate that. To the big homie. To the big homie Dre Blanco. He says, I've said it once and I'll say it again. Black people scream that we are not a monolith till we have different opinions. Yep. Then we are to stay on code, and this as one because you have one fifth Black blood. The code. What is the code? Shout out to Dre. He's absolutely right. The code should be we have one main objective, which is the empowerment and liberation of Black people in this country, and then making sure that we get exactly what we are owed and deserved, and that is equality across the board. I am only one man fighting one particular battle. There's so many battles. One could argue that the beauty of having someone like myself or like a Dre is that we are able to give real honest advice and a constructive perspective of the issues of the criminal justice system to our scope, right? To our scope. Dre works within the court system heavily. He works in the prosecutor's office. So he's able to give another perspective that I can't give in detail as to what are the issues. The benefit is we can tell you what the issues are, and we can consult with you and tell you what's the best way to fix it so that there's equitable treatment across the board. That's the key. You guys, if you haven't seen, I posted in the community tab that Judge Joe Brown will be on the channel. I will be interviewing him on this channel. Please go in the community tab, you guys, and put your question. If you have a specific question that you would like to ask Judge Joe Brown, or you want me to ask him during our interview, please put it on there. You guys, this is a time for us to get real answers. I love to bring people on this channel who actually do the real job and can tell you about what's going on in our community. I can tell you from a limited perspective, but guess what? I have a teacher that I plan on bringing on here as well, right? To give some clarity and some insight into what is it like being a Black teacher? What solutions does she have? What does she see, right? What do we not see? Because see, I can tell you some things and you might not believe it, but let the people from the profession tell you. And through understanding their job and what they're doing, they can give us solutions as to what the core issue is. And again, we know how we got here. We know how we got here in this country, in a sense, the dysfunction, the disparities due to systemic racism and white supremacy. We know all that. The question is now, what are the solutions to get out of it? And that's the type of conversations I like to have. How do we get out of it? And the best way to find out is to talk to the people who are doing the jobs and the areas that we need to see the repair. So shout out to you, Dre. Shout out to you, Kimberly. Thank you. With a $10 super chat says, "You are right, Nathan. Keep up the good work." Thank you so much, my dear. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. a lot of the conversations we had at the Black Agenda that I really, really loved the most is the conversation was all about accountability. It was all about what we need to do. And then looking at people who are doing work, those who are doing real grassroots work, and either support them with your dollars, you guys, or find an area in your Michi said it perfectly. First of all, this is what Michi said. I ain't gonna say it like her because she just has this thing that she does. But what she said was, if you want to fix the community, fix your own home first. Fix your home. If everybody took responsibility, you don't have to gang up with all these other different groups if you don't want to. If you want to support, if you can't go out there and run the streets with a new era, strapped up, defending the city, protecting the citizens and things like that. You can't do that. Okay, support with your dollars, right? Support with your dollars. If you can't do much politically, get it. At least what you could do is research these people properly before you vote for them. You can vote Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. Vote for who you want, but at least be an educated voter when you do vote, right? And then she talked about the house and your own personal life. You guys, be the change you want to see. So if you want to be a part of a community where we're respecting each other, loving each other, one thing you don't do is laugh at people almost getting killed, right? Like that might be one thing, right? Not laughing at each other's pain, not insulting or disrespecting each other, not trying to drag each other down on social media. I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. Most of us are guilty of it, right? We have to start becoming the change that we want to see. We have to start living it. We have to, shout out to Be Too Cool. This is good. Yeah. So how do you combat that when you have people in positions killing our own, like Tyree Nichols? That is a great question. That's a great question. So Be Too Cool is saying, I'm advocating for more Black people to do the job, right? So with that being said, what do you do when Black people in the position of power harms a Black person? Does it negate what I'm saying? No. Unfortunately, the exception is not the rule, right? It's not a perfect solution. Nothing's perfect. There is no perfect answer. There's a better answer. Then we have to look at, what is the likelihood of this being the norm? What happened to Tyree Nichols was a disgrace. It was disgusting. My position on it. I think those officers need to be set up for the death penalty. What they did was barbaric, and it was a violation of his rights, of his freedom, of him just being a human. And I feel like that with any officer that abuses their power to that degree, to where it costs a person their life like that. Does it mean because you had a group of bad officers, does that take away from all the other Black officers that are doing an amazing job? I know Black officers, even myself included, who have saved more lives than they ever took. I know officers that saved plenty of lives and never had to pull a trigger on their gun, right? So I do hear what you're saying. It's not a good look. It's not a good look, but we also have to be honest that these type of occurrences are not the norm, And even officers who have encounters with citizens that are citizens who are killed during a police encounter, even that is minuscule, and it's not to undermine the deaths. And there are also some deaths by the hand of police officers that don't get documented. So that's something that I also learned since I got on YouTube. I always knew that, but there are cities, there are small towns, there are sundown towns, there are areas in this country where you have police departments, you have police officers who are racist. They have a hatred for Black people, and they are abusing their power. They're killing. people to try to justify it. So there are things that need to be addressed, that need to be examined, need to be removed. There are police departments and people in this profession that are a cancer, right? They are a cancer. At the same time, all of our efforts won't get rid of everything 100%. It will not. There is solutions to this problem that we see with Tyree Nichols. And I'm going to ask Judge Joe Brown that when I bring him on the channel. What is his take on policing in Memphis? Because if you can solve a Memphis police problem, you can solve a lot of the problems. So yeah, you do have Black officers that are they're not good officers, but it's not that they're Black officers. It's just that they're not good officers. And I think this is kind of goes back to my point with what Michi said, is that we like to label things by color. Sometimes bad is just bad. Bad is bad, and it comes in all shades, all gender, all religion. When you're bad, you're bad. You know, it's not unique to Black. It's not unique to white. And it's, we have to get in the mindset to where we transcend past color. It's not that we ignore it, but there are other issues outside of race that are a problem in the criminal justice system. Something as simple as competition, something as simple as ego, something as simple as laziness. Laziness. You might look at something and be like, well, that, you know, it's racist. You'd be like, no, this prosecutor was just lazy. Or this prosecutor just didn't care. This officer just didn't care. It doesn't make them a racist. I mean, they didn't give a damn. You know, those are things outside of color that have to be addressed. With this situation, with Tyree Nichols, there's a power dynamic. There's a power problem. Listen, being an officer is a powerful thing. And to some people, it's like a drug. And they become addicted to it. And if you're not careful, it consumes you. Shout out to Diva Journey. Great statement. Great statement. Says, I feel like there's a level of maturity that we need as a community to really take the time to listen, even when it may be uncomfortable. We are quick to label and not understand different views. That right there in a nutshell. That right there. And I think a lot of it is just have the patience. Just have patience to hear me out. A lot of times when I'm talking up here, you guys, I knew it was a challenge. There was going to be some difficult conversations. What I love so much about you guys, because you guys make up this channel, you're always willing to be patient. Always be patient. And you listen and you hear it through. You know, I could say that. You guys take the time to hear it through. I brag about how I have some of the best critical thinkers on this side of YouTube. You guys always, and listen, and even sometimes if I give my position on things, in the comment section, you will say, listen, Nathan, I don't agree with these points, but I understand this point, right? And so I appreciate that. That means a lot to me, because all you're saying is that you're willing to hear it out. And that's what we need more of. We need just to take the time to be patient, listen, and then make a decision based off of that, and not one that's based off of anger, frustration, or other emotional responses that could cloud our judgment. And again, that is on point. And some of these conversations are uncomfortable. And you know, some of these things are the truth that we have to accept. We have to accept. And we get so carried away dismissing it because it doesn't feel good. Ultimately, not having it hurts us in the long run. And that's what makes it dangerous. What I've learned with dealing with our people is that Black people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care, right? Does that make sense? And I understood that a long time ago doing this profession. I would show up to a house and I'm dealing with someone, or maybe a traffic stop. I'm dealing with someone who is, you know, maybe they have a warrant for a criminal act and they know they're going to jail. I had to show up and defend officers who were getting the snot beat out of him. I had to come over there and help out and so on and so on. And, you know, I'll never forget this one guy, he was about to get arrested. He had a warrant for, I think, some type of drug charge. And he was fighting with one of my coworkers. I show up, we get into a little tussle. Finally get him handcuffed. He starts cooperating, right? Bring him to the back. I'm handling him because he just kind of beat the snot out of my partner. So I'm bringing him back to my car. I'm like, hey, man, I said, listen, it's over. Chill out. And I'm talking to the guy. And you know what he said to me, which I thought was so fascinating. It stuck to me to this day. I'll never forget it. He said he had every intention of cooperating. He said every intention of cooperating. I said, well, it didn't look like that to me. He said, well, the officer disrespected me. So the officer disrespected me. He said, I knew I was going to jail, but I didn't like the way he spoke to me. And you guys, that stuck with me. It stuck with me. You know, I've been able to put people in handcuffs without having to throw a punch. Now, there have been times where people were like, you got to earn this, right? Or there are times people run, you know, it's like freeze tag. So you touch them, like, all right, you got me, officer, you got me. And it's like, cool, you know, no need to do nothing else, right? Some people fight you to the bitter end. Majority of the time, you guys, folks just don't want to get caught. A lot of people in our community just don't want to get caught. We run for silly things. We run for major things. It doesn't matter. We just don't want to get caught. One thing that I've learned in this profession is that if you treat people with respect, you get so much further. I had a guy tell me he was about to reach for a gun in the seat of the car, and he changed his mind because of how respectful I was. Could you imagine? You know? And I told him, you know, after, you know, we searched the car, arrested him and stuff like that, charged him with the gun. I said, man, could you imagine we having a shootout right here? I said, what if you shot me? Or what if I shot you? You know, would it have been worth it? This is a conversation I'm having with the guy who just told me he contemplated shooting me because I pulled him over. He had a warrant. He was in possession of a gun. You know, you guys, he spent a couple days in jail and he bonded out. This man was willing to risk his life simply because he didn't want to go back to jail. And he said the only thing that stopped him from reaching under the seat was because of how nice I was. When I used to teach and train officers, I would tell them, you don't have to be disgusting to people. You don't have to treat people like that. You don't have to talk to people like that. It's not necessary. It's just not. You know, when he told me that, we had a conversation on to the jail. And I'm like, isn't it funny how you can make one decision in your life and it completely turn your world upside down? I told him, though, I said, listen, I'm quick with this draw, though. I don't know if you would have got me, player. I'm just being honest, you know. But these are real situations, you guys. These are real situations. I think, again, what I've learned and what I've noticed, and even at the Black Agenda, it was echoed. Black people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's a good and a bad thing. Because if I know you're the type of person that won't listen to me until you find out how much I care, then I pretend to care in order to get what I want out of you. So that makes sense. Shout out to Jamari81 with the super sticker. Appreciate you. Showing the love. let me go to this next one I wanted to discuss. Politics. What we talk about? Skin folk ain't kin folk thingy. Vote based on policy, not skin color. Right? Policy. Let's talk about the policing. I covered it just a little bit. Again, there was a brother who came up. Well, first, before I even say that, there was man. Listen, you guys. Michi had invited families of who were families of victims of police injustices, racism, evil acts. And this is out of Mississippi. What did I learn? Hearing this story was hard to listen to, but it was so necessary. It was so important. And it was also inspiring even more. It gave me more inspiration to want to, continue this. Because what is my goal? For those who don't know, I have a lot of new people on the channel. You guys, my goal is to use my understanding of policing, my understanding of the criminal justice system, along with my creative imagination of solution-based ideas, to give these ideas and put them in the hands of the people who can actually implement them to bring about the change. One thing that I've noticed from just over the years listening to these politicians talk about police reform, criminal justice reform, is that they don't know what they're talking about. They bring up some good points in order to calm the voices. But when it comes to having real systemic change throughout nationwide, you guys, they don't have the solutions. They're not even talking about the solutions. I'm talking about the real core problems that'll have the impact that people are complaining about actually being solved. The real issues in policing. Policing should have evolved a long time ago, and it's been stagnant. It's been very stagnant for a lot of different reasons. But my goal is to share my reform ideas and put them in the hands of the people to go and pressure their state and local officials to make some changes. I can't be everybody's politician, and I'm not running for president. But what I can do is equip people with the right type of tools. People come to me and say, hey, this is what they're talking about in my city. Does this seem like legit? Do you think this will work? I'm like, nah, it ain't gonna work, player. Hey, Nathan, I want to ask you a question about this. We want this idea. We want to implement that. What are your thoughts? I think it's a good idea. I think it's a bad idea. Here's the best way to get it done. What we need, and this was also echoed, right? This was also talked about. What we need is trusted counsel in all areas. You guys. We're talking education, legal, agriculture, policing. What else? What else is there? You think of like what the cabinet, right? The presidential cabinet is made out of, right? We need trusted counsel in all these subject matters. We do. Someone who can consult, a trusted opinion. That's what I want to be. That's what I'm aiming to be. A trusted voice who can give accurate information, solid information to groups who want to change the dynamic of their police departments and their communities. What should you be asking for? Hey, Nathan, can you examine this situation? Let me know your thoughts. You guys have people sending me stuff all the time. All the time. And many of the stuff I can't even share on the channel. And so they're consulting with me and saying, this is my situation. This is what happened. How do I hold this department accountable? What are they doing that I don't know about? You know, and this brings me back to the families. You know, you guys, there are atrocities that take place in this country involving police, involving citizens that go undetected, that get no coverage, that people don't know about, would love to hear about and do something about. And I was telling Michi this, what my vision is, and she was talking about this. She already, you know, Michi's already ahead of the game. I want to be a part of a coalition of, you would say, subject matter experts in criminal justice that represents the Black interest, where you have communities that are being disenfranchised, communities that are suffering from racist police practices, right? And you guys, listen, there's approximately, what is it, 18,000 police departments in this country. It's a lot. All of them are not on the up and up. There's some rural 10-officer police departments that are terrorizing communities. And this coalition, you put together this coalition, their job is to be a support for these families or for victims who feel like they have no sense of help. They have no real solution to their problem. They feel like they are hopeless. They feel like there's nothing they can do. And with this coalition, then you can bring awareness. You can also give, you know, volunteer advice and time to make sure that things are done properly. And again, one of the biggest things I've noticed, and even with the families that showed up and just shared their story, the awareness, man. Like, no one knows about it. No one knows about it. And just like you see the media and celebrities, they pick up some of these cases, like a Breonna Taylor situation, and they brought light to it. They put fire under the department. And granted, the outcome still didn't go the way we wanted it to. But could you imagine if there was always a button you could call to where you made sure any injustice that took place, it gets the proper attention, it gets the proper eyes, and the proper accountability held on the department. And even educating the community on how to prevent these things from happening again, as far as how they vote the right people in to make sure that these things don't happen again, right? There needs to be a massive collective effort. I would love to be a part of something like that, and say, because guess what? How many people look at it? Okay, how many Black officers are out here that will really give us an honest, unbiased opinion about our situation that we can trust and know that it's coming from the right place? Oh, all day. All day. You guys, listen, at the end of the day, I hate bad police officers with a passion. With a passion. And I love good officers. But the bad ones got to go. The bad ones got to. Sometimes they start off good and they end bad. They got to go. Thank you for your service. Peace. Be Too Cool. Great question again. Says, do you think that stripping some of the immunities that protect different positions of power will be a start to combat those that abuse their power? To be honest, there isn't really any immunities like that. The issue is police are just not being held accountable, period. There's some that are just not being held accountable. It's not even really about like immunities. It's about it's about you being able to discipline yourself. So if I mess up, if I do something wrong, and I'm responsible for holding myself accountable, I'm not gonna. How much integrity do you have? The question is, am I going to, if I make a mistake and I have to take a whip and slash my back 10 times, am I really gonna be throwing that sucker back? No, I'm gonna be like, right? Or am I gonna be hauling off trying to tear my shoulder out of? No, I'm not. So that's the issue with policing, is that, you know, there needs to be a third party. There needs to be a third party organization in charge of holding police accountable to where they can't do it themselves. The only immunity that people talk about that they want to get rid of is qualified immunity. And qualified immunity it's a broken. It's a good idea that's abused. It's good, but it's abused, and that's the issue with qualified immunity. It's not that it's not. It has its purpose. Even the origins are questionable, right? Of why they created them. It was right to protect officers when they're committing harms against blacks. So granted, the origins aren't that great, but you need something to protect officers when they're doing their job, when they're acting under the color of law. The problem is the way it's set up and the way it's enforced opens the door for abuse, and they abuse the hell out of it. The problem with policing just in general is that there's no proper accountability that's consistent across the board. And that right there erodes trust and makes people feel like, well, the police operate under different circumstances than citizens, and that's not fair. And to be honest, if you actually train officers better, there will be less issues that you would have. But in requiring to do that, and in requiring them to do that, what ends up happening is the biggest issue. Police have so much power. The only way to properly provide oversight is to have citizens oversee policing, to be honest. That's the key. You need citizens to oversee police. So there needs to be a citizens board or organization that addresses these matters, period. And that's the only way, because police aren't going to be able to do it themselves. You're not going to be able to trust police 100% to do it. That's just the reality. And but at the same time, that's human nature. That's human nature. Why would you can have someone who starts off to be 100% genuine with integrity, blah, blah, blah. People can become compromised, you know? So because of that, people can be bought out. So because of that, the best way to remove that is to provide a proper checks and balances to the system. Granted, this doesn't mean we throw officers under the bus, but it does mean that in order to create proper public trust, you have to hold people accountable. There's just no questions about it, you know, absolutely no questions. Why you keep talking about the black community when you ain't no part of it? I don't know what that means. Someone said, I don't know what you mean, bro. Who? But so I think that's one of the issues is the accountability piece. You know, a lot of times the accountability is not consistent. And again, how do you build trust? It's too much power. Police have way too much power for the lack of accountability that we have, in my personal opinion. And I'll say this, not all police departments do that. You have some police departments that do a good job of accountability, but then there could be that one time where it's somebody that the chief or a lieutenant has a friend or whatever. And next, in that moment, you become compromised. So what's the best way to prevent that and eliminate anybody from falling apart or falling victim to temptation is to have a third party source, in my personal opinion. Shout out to you. So this is a good question. He says, Diva Journey says, please educate me. Is internal affairs for local officers or federal? And if local, are they effective or corrupt? So yeah, this is how it works. So every police department, the majority, large departments or significantly moderate sized departments, they have an internal affairs division. So basically, these are officers who work in the police department who have been eventually promoted to an internal affairs investigator, which is the problem within itself, right? When you really think about it. So if you think about it, you have 100 police officers who started a police department. And over 5 years, 20 of that 100 officers, they all work together. 20 of them now become investigators for the 80 officers that exist, right? So then now that's the issue. And so, well, here's the problem. A lot of those guys in internal affairs and gals, guess what? They all know each other, right? A majority, most time, they sometimes know each other. The question is, can that person who's now supposed to be judging the behaviors of the officers that they actually are part of, can they be completely impartial when judging and investigating? Well, the answer is yes and no. And that's depending on each individual person's character. The problem is the conflict of interest is there. And because the conflict of interest is there, and there's a possibility for it to be there, you'll always be able to cast doubt. And so what's the best way to override that? To have a third-party organization be in charge of investigating police conduct issues. And that way you can ensure that you'll raise the chance significantly that you'll get decisions that aren't going to be biased, and that the people will be impartial to the best of their abilities based on the policy. So right then and there within itself, you have that internal conflict that already exists. And when those things happen, guess what? You have cases where now people don't properly do their investigation. Evidence goes missing. People didn't do this, didn't do that. And guess what? Now the department's internal affairs has to investigate. But now if the internal affairs department is like, well, if we uncover the truth, it's going to make the chief look bad. It's going to make the department look bad. It's going to make the city. And guess what? Then those guys can be persuaded to, make things disappear or not address certain things or make things not to, to kind of downplay the evidence or not release records so that the public can have access. So there's a lot of things. It's a lot of power, you guys. It's absolutely a lot of power. It's too much power, and the citizens have no buy-in. They have their hands are nowhere near it. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work, and that's just the truth. It just doesn't work. We're trying to create something that's going to be where people feel like they can trust policing, and I think building that trust falls on police, the profession. So policing, a comment was made that you can't trust the police. No police are good. And that's fine if that's your personal opinion. It doesn't work. And I think one of the things that we have to challenge each other on is then what is the solution? We do have a very active community. There's some cities, there's some Black communities that are that have crime issues. And it's not to say that we need more police, but to say that we don't want the police is definitely not the answer. It's definitely not the answer. So the question is, what do we do? Right? We have groups and organizations like New Era. Okay, well, then let's find more Black men and women who want to volunteer and step up and replace police. You can privatize security services for communities. I've seen it happen in the area I patrolled in. You had apartment complexes that hired private security, and they patrolled. So can we do it on a citywide level? Absolutely. I don't see why not. And get funding from the council, get funding from the government, where a community says, hey, listen, we prefer this private security company to patrol. And this security company is made up of, men and women who live in this community. They're going to deal with, some of the bad apples in the community. They're going to handle that. You call them first. They're a buffer for the police. And if something gets too crazy or out of control, then you call 911. But there's an option. There's an option. If it's a domestic issue, okay, you can call them. So I mean, I think there's a lot of solutions. I think our solutions to the police problem are only going to be as good as the things that we are willing to do. The solution is only as good as what we're willing to do. And that's my take on that. So, hey, I'm not saying you got to love the police. I'm saying what is your solution? Not having them does not seem to work. And from my personal experience, there are plenty of amazing people in the Black community that love the police. And they absolutely desire them to be present. Again, we can distinguish between cops that are good at their job and cops that are bad at their job. And there are some cops that work in the Black community that are no good, and they come in all shades of color. And so we want bad cops out, period. Bad cops, and when they're bad, we want them held accountable. And I think that's what it's all about. So what was another thing? We talked about the music industry, and I want to say this is someone said that was wishful thinking at best. Which part? The music industry. And let me play something, because so we talked about the music industry. I discussed about how the genre of music now is changing. Rap music, where there's a lot more violence. The drill music, artists are bragging about killing one another. They're talking about it, about how they move the body, how they execute it, so and so. They talk about killing police officers. They talk about their hatred for law enforcement. Talk about their hatred for other people. They talk about degrading Black women, and things of that nature. And so drugs. They talk about drugs and hypersexual behavior. So there's all this going on in the music. We talked about how influential the music is, how influential media is. So we had some great takes on that. I thought it was really amazing. I really just spoke on the idea that music is so influential, and it's dangerous from a standpoint of a lot of kids are being exposed. They're reciting these lyrics. They're participating. They're emulating these artists. They want to be these artists, and they start to walk outside the house and start to become the things that they rap about. I'm going to play a clip from this record exec. We did have a record exec, I believe, at the event. He spoke. Can't recall his name, but he talked about some things as well. Along with Judge Joe Brown, he spoke about a lot of things as well. And I don't want to give too much of what Judge Joe Brown said, so I'm going to bring him over here so he can talk. I'm going to have some questions, some follow-up questions in reference to the sense of sentencing. One of the things that we brought up about sentencing and what that looks like. That was a good conversation. It was quick, but I'm going to dive into it a little more. I want to play this video for you guys. I think this speaks volumes. Let me see if I can find it, and then we'll take some questions, and then be about this joint. Let me see. Is this it? Yeah. If you haven't seen this before, you guys, fair use. This gentleman came out and he said some things that many of us know and understand, but a lot of us are lost to. But I want to get your thoughts on this, and then we're gonna end off with the Bud Light.
Seeing that a rapper from Migos died, I just wanted to go ahead and make a video about something I have a unique experience in. So I directed a bunch of rappers, people like Gucci Mane, Snoop Dogg, Lil Yachty, the list goes on and on and on, okay? I learned a lot of things, and I have left the industry largely over my political beliefs, but there is something I want to impart to people to hopefully, make some sort of change happen. So I have a challenge to rappers, and I know some of you still follow me. I know a bunch of the celebrity blogs still follow me from trying to get news from music videos and things like that. So here's the truth. The truth is this: a bunch of young black male rappers keep dying. You know who's not dying? Record executives. The record executives that push for them to continue to make songs and create a culture that is obsessed with death, drugs, and sex. Period. The industry's obsessed with it, but those record executives, they're not dying because they don't push this culture on their own people, but they're encouraging you to push it on yours, and they're paying you handsomely to do it. The reality is, I know a lot of you. A lot of you are good people. You're family guys. You're not the image that you put out there to the world. Why? Why don't you be the example? Stand up. I challenge you. Be the example. Make music about the culture you want to see. Don't just get online today and talk about how, whenever a rapper makes it, his own people take him down. Don't just make those videos. Don't be sad. Don't rest in peace. None of that stuff. Be the change you want to see. Inspire it in your community. Reach out to other rappers and say, we have to stop. We're being used. You've been used for a long time. They create this paradigm to make you believe that you're so important and your celebrity status is worth so much, but in truth, you're a pawn in their game and you always have been. The government has wanted to hold down communities of people in different ways through different methods for a very long time. Their method in the black community has been to use entertainment to create a culture obsessed with death, drugs, sex, and money, so that they could create a false paradigm of what happiness and what success really was. And in doing so, they created a world that also made people more dependent on government, and as a result, gave themselves more power. The record executives that push you to do this, to go and continue to profit off the backs of your work, they're in cahoots with the elite. They're in cahoots with the government. They want you to think you're important, but in truth, you're just doing their dirty work for them, so stop. They've empowered you in ways that are real. You have an audience. You have platforms. You have the ability to make change. So go against the grain together. They're more afraid of you all together standing up and creating a new culture that's built around family, faith, freedom, doing the right thing, valuing life, than they are of anything else. So I challenge you, use your power to do the right things. If you continue to do the same thing you've done, more rappers like this are going to die. How many have to die before you change the culture? And let me tell you something else. There's a reason the record labels pay us more to do rap videos. They don't tell you that, do they? Do they tell you that they pay us more to do your videos? Because they do. They do it because they know it's more dangerous. They do it because they know it's more difficult. And they do it because, frankly, there's a lot of money laundering involved. Those labels wash a bunch of money through. We don't do it, but we know the labels are doing it 100%.
So we don't do it.
Okay, they're then taking the money off the top end, and you see on your royalty check, oh, they spent $150,000 on this video. Did they? Because we didn't see $150,000. Okay, and to who? Their friend's company? A lot of times that's the case. Same thing with insurance companies. They charge us more to insure your videos. And it's because they know the culture that's been created. They know that the only possibility of a music video being shot up is on a rap video. And that's the truth. So change the culture. You have the power. Your people deserve it. Hey guys,
First of all, somebody need to check to make sure that brother's still alive, dropping them gems. I shared this. I shared this at the event. I had a wealthy man speak to me one day. I was in uniform, and we just had a conversation. He was talking about how he has friends who are wealthy investors in the music industry. You guys, and having this conversation with me just blew my mind. How insidious this thing is. The reality is that Black life is profitable. Black death is 2 times as profitable. And it has become a sick cycle. A sick cycle. We are a walking financial resource. All from our hair to the sole of our feet is worth millions. Millions. And nothing goes to waste. Absolutely nothing goes to waste. This man told me that there are men in the music industry who are investors of musics that promotes death and destruction. They invest in music that promotes death and destruction. Why? Why? These guys have sister companies. They have other investments in other areas. So it's like, okay, well, you then find out, according to him, that not only do we invest in these record labels, we also have investment in private prisons. Private prisons. Then you find out these guys also invest in weapons. They're investors of weapons. And these same guys invest in funeral homes. What? And I'm listening to him tell me this, and he's telling me with a straight face. He said, Nate, listen, it's not personal. It's profitable. Can you imagine? We create the music. They provide a platform. They push the music out in all the demonic ways. It's another conversation. We give them the resource, which is talent mixed with hatred. We give it to them. They then pay us for it, and we sign our life away doing it. And listen, these companies will only invest in this type of music. Don't sell me that kumbaya. I don't want to hear it. Don't tell me how you helped this police officer out. I don't want to hear it. Don't tell me how you defended your community against a drug dealer. I don't want to hear it. Don't tell me how you guys celebrated the graduation of these Black youths, these Black teens. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear how you guys clean the neighborhood up. I don't want to hear anything positive. I don't want to hear music that empowers people. You can't get a record deal over here. I want to hear how you slayed each other in the streets. I want to hear how you sexually took advantage of women. I want to hear how women are disrespecting one another. I want to hear how you've drugged people in your community. I want to hear how you've been killing each other in your community. This is what I want to hear. I want to hear how you run away from the police, how you're fighting the law. I want to hear how you're running away from home, how you're kicking in doors, robbing, shooting, killing, sex, money, drugs, romance for the street is what an artist said. Sex, money, drugs. If you're not bringing that over here, I can't support you. I can't support you. So what do people say? Well, I could talk about killing and shooting and robbing, and I could talk about it. Demon time. I can give you demon time. You guys, that's what it's all about. Demonic time. And we try to say it like it's cute. You guys, this stuff is out in the open. Demon time. Casting spell on records and sending them out to the masses. So what is he saying? This is what we are taking from you, and then we're going to distribute out to the public. And guess what? The people listen to it. They become conditioned. They become brainwashed. And then they're moved. They start emulating the lyrics. They want to become these rappers. They then start looking for what? These guns. They then want to be what? Drug dealers. They want to be strippers. They want to sell their bodies now for money. They want to be pimped out for money. Everything's about money. You guys, what is he saying? Then you come out here and you want to kill one another. Bodies being picked up, sent to the morgue. With guns. What is he saying? This man told me that these guys invest in record labels, gun manufacturers, prisons, and morgues. Look at all the raw resources. The brother makes the music. The people listen. They act the music out with the guns that they invested in. Then they kill each other. Then his company picks the body up. Then the other person goes to prison. You guys, they're making profit on both ends. And then they call me to come clean up the mess. And then the people turn around and dislike me for trying to fix the problem. You guys, it's sick. It's sick. Why do they hate me? You guys, they rap about it. They rap about it. What's the solution to that? There's so much money involved. So much money involved. I invest in the gun that you used to kill the other black person. I make money off his body and his organs. And I send the other one to the private prison where I make money off of him forever. Welcome to slavery 2.0. So we talk about how before it was telling a story about empowerment, stories about trials and tribulation, where now it's stories about how can I eliminate police officers? How can I eliminate my neighbor? How can I? So this, you guys, this is a clip from the Black Agenda. We're all on stage, amazing people. I don't remember all the names. Meechie's got to call them out. But as you know, we have this young lady to the left, very, very, very powerful young lady. She had a very good speech she gave up here on stage. As you know, right here is Meechie. Right here, she was stressing me out. I was sitting next to her. She was stressing me out the whole time. I was about to say something. Meechie hit me with them side eyes. Like, don't say nothing crazy. Don't say nothing crazy. So, and then all the way over here to the right, you guys, that's Angela. She was there. So Andrew's over here on the corner on the right. And this gentleman here is, I think he's a rec executive. I think he has a label, if I'm not mistaken, 100%. This young lady right here was, boy, she got a voice like lightning. She kind of remind me of she got a pastor's voice, but she's also super, super intelligent. Dr. something. I can't remember. I feel so bad. I can't remember the names, you guys. But she was also another phenomenal speaker. Very, very fair as well. She was moderating a couple panels up there. But beautiful voice, beautiful mind she has. And so Dr. Megan, thank you. I said she coming through. So this is me on top of the panel, at the panel, and I'm discussing what this record executive just talked about. I start talking about the music and how influential, how destructive it is. And one of the key things in here I want to point out, just to kind of so you guys can see the layout of the stage, so you can kind of see how it went down. But there's something in here I talk about I want to touch on before I go to this next video. And then we're going to talk about Bud Light. Take over this block. How can I push drugs? How can I disrespect our women and things of that nature? And so it becomes very poisonous. So one of the things I always thought was interesting, a lot of people don't talk about, is how some artists have an ability to talk about certain things, but if they talk about a specific thing that you have, the media will push back on it. You have other communities that. All right, that's enough because I'm shy. So let me tell you what I said. Let me tell you what I said. You guys, listen, it's hard getting up there in front of people talking. And there was a lot of people in the crowd. Luckily, the lights were blinding me, so I couldn't really see too much. But I'm glad that's over. Let me tell you what I touched on. I talked about Rick Ross and Ludacris. For those who don't remember, they got in some trouble with their lyrics, right? Ludacris, a long time ago, he had an issue with Pepsi. He was having some endorsements, and endorsements got canceled. He had shows that got canceled. Rick Ross made a statement about drugging and raping women, right? He made that statement in one of his lyrics, and a lot of women didn't like that. A lot of white women also spoke out against that. You guys, it became a real big thing. Why? Because people forget, everybody listens to our music. Everybody listens to our music. And if I'm not mistaken, some of the biggest supporters of rap music and hip hop music are Caucasian people in this country. And so they took offense to things that these artists said, and they spoke out against it. And they said, hey, listen, that's not cool. That's not okay to talk about drugging and sexually assaulting a woman, which is true, which is 100% true. But what happened? You guys, I'll never forget it. It was a magical moment. You guys, they held him accountable. And guess what he did? You guys, he removed that song. He lost endorsements. He never, ever talked about drugging and sexually assaulting a woman ever again. Ever. And I'm saying this as an example of how powerful it is. What's the solution? You guys, that's the solution right there. That's the solution. The reason why this stuff keeps happening and this music keeps going is because no one is calling it out. No one is saying it's inappropriate. When it affects other groups of people, it's a problem. We can talk about dismantling our souls on a record. Nobody has a problem with it. Not even us. Not even us. To the point where you see rappers in New York trying to pass laws to justify the violence in the music. And saying, oh, listen, you can't prosecute us by us talking about killing each other. It's art. Yeah. It's demonic art is what it is. You guys, the answer is us. The answer has always been us. We have to cancel toxic content. We have to remove toxic. That's how you control behavior. That's how you address the behavior. We do it because we're making money off of it. We are incentivizing our own dysfunction. That's the truth. They brought Eminem Never forget this. Back in the late 90s, when Eminem was first coming out, he was talking about all kinds of issues going on in the white community and what he was doing to women and his mom. And his lyrics were demonic. All right, it's called spade a spade. His music was demonic. He talked about executing and torturing his mother, his wife, while his child watched. Let's call it out. You guys, you know what they did? They sent his ass to the Senate House, and they were talking about his music. They were talking about removing his music. Because he was highlighting things within the white community that people want to try to keep quiet, like drug addiction, like suicide. You guys, it made it all the way up to the Senate. They had hearings about it on the federal level about music. Look it up. I was blown away. I was blown away. And the record labels sent their best and their brightest to defend what? Their First Amendment. They sent their best and their brightest and said, hey, it's not our fault. It's the parents' fault. It's not the record label's fault. It's the parents' fault. You guys, listen, I watched the whole interview. It blew my mind. It blew my mind. The record labels have dollars, you guys. They sent their best and the brightest out there to combat the issue. Why? Because they knew how much of an impact that would have on their bottom line. Trying to tell you. And I was thinking about playing that video one day, and I was just like, what's the point? What's the point? What's the point? The reality is the music, a lot of this music, it's not good for anybody. You know, and the reason why it's not good for us as Black people is because it creates a narrative, it creates an image of Black people that's not accurate. You know, it's not accurate. It's not true. A lot of it's not true.
Get on the radio every day in white-owned companies, white-owned stations with white-owned sponsors that play the role of hypersexualized, hypercriminalized male. I asked these advertisers, I say, I've got hundreds of songs a day that celebrate killing animals. Will you put them on your station? They said, no. I got hundreds of songs a day that talk about assaulting women and abusing kids. Would you put them on your station? They said, no. I said, I got hundreds of songs a day that talk about murdering blacks. Would you put them on your stations? They said, well, that depends. Depends on what? Who it's done by and who it's branded for. Because if we can get Black folks to sing about it, we can brand it for our youngest Black audiences, I think there's money to be made. I think there's American appetites to see these people that way. I said, how can you say that? They said, well, look, it's what these artists know. It's what they, Black people, create. It's, matter of fact, our surveys say it's what they want to hear, which speaks of a sickness. How do we live in a society where somebody says, you know what, I'm inspired to write a song that celebrates murdering another person. And then a person says, I'd like to put that on my station. Another person said, I'd like to pay for it. And then there's people out here in the audience that go, I'd love to hear it, as long as it's Black guys. Because even white people buy rap music, buy this type of stuff, because we know that when we want to hear about killing each other, we know who to turn to for that type of inspiration. We call it our music. We say we own it. White people buy more rap than Black people. Yeah, but we're very careful to turn it down at the stoplight when other Black people are there. Why? Because we know we're just pretending. For them, it's more authentic and real. I always ask the companies, what about your name? What about your brand? What about your value? And the largest radio company in the world said this: it's okay that we only have drug dealers on our Black youth stations. We only have murders on our Black youth stations. We support Black charities. We give out water at the Martin Luther King parade. I think we've got it covered. We've bought them off. Now, people get upset, the smartest guys in the room again. You're talking about censorship. I don't believe that. I believe in free art. Make whatever you want. I believe you should make music about anti-Semitism. I believe you should make music about killing dogs. I believe in this country you should make music about bashing homosexuals and driving them behind trucks. I believe you should make music about stringing people up on trees. I believe you should make music about killing whitey. I believe you should make all that music. But I also believe that in the mainstream marketplace, people should hesitate associating their name with certain content. You know, there's certain stuff you can't buy at the store. Certain stuff you can't get on iTunes because their brand doesn't want it. But if you want to hear black people celebrating killing black people, they got thousands and thousands and thousands of those things to sell you. I don't think it's about censorship. I think it's about American cultural hypocrisy. Because here's the truth. These black entertainers, they can't sing just about anything. There's some stuff that'll get them fired, and they get dropped, and they get fired, and they get slapped on the wrist, and they get disciplined all the time. Why? Because sometimes they step over the bounds. A very famous case is what happened with Rick Ross. Rick Ross is the Mammy Two Shoes, one of the many Mammy Two Shoes of our day. He's a black entertainer in a world carved out for him, and a role carved out for him by white entertainment companies. And one day he talked about, in the middle of a song that celebrated dealing drugs and killing blacks, he made a reference to date rape. And when he made that reference to date rape, that set social media on fire. That got 100,000 petitions in 24 hours. Hey, buddy, date rape is no joke. That had white people standing outside of Reebok in New York saying, you better take this seriously. We're tired of a rape culture in America. One line in one song moved the masses. And you know what Reebok did? Did they stand by him and say, hey, we believe in freedom of speech. We believe in freedom of expression. It's just a song. Calm down. No, they fired his tail on the spot.
Fired him on the spot. Fired him on the spot. Fired him on the spot. You guys, that brings me up to Bud Light. Bud Light. Fired him on the spot. What does this have to do with Bud Light? Before I get into that, Bruh Man from the Fifth Flow. Shout out to Bruh Man from the Fifth Flow. If you guys don't remember, my God, we were having a stream one night, and I was talking about we were watching some body camera footage about people, us doing the craziest things. I think the stream was about comply to survive. Like that was the theme of that stream. And we had videos about black men who were doing the most, putting their life in danger to try to get away from the police. And there was one case we're looking at here in Atlanta where these black teens were on like, Jesus Christ, they're like on the fourth floor of the parking deck in an apartment complex. And they were breaking into cars. We have a huge car break-in and theft problem here in Atlanta. And the police were working an undercover operation. They caught these guys. Everybody was cooperating. We're getting handcuffed. The one guy who decided he wasn't going to go to jail took off running. Right? He's running. And you guys know how a parking garage is. So he's running down the ramp. He's trying to get away from the officer. And the brother misjudged the height. Right? Like, you know how on one side of the building, you could be on the second floor, but on the other side of the building, it's like a lot lower and it's technically 4 levels. The brother jumped on the wrong side, you guys. He decided he was going to get away by any means necessary. And the officer was behind him. The officer was gaining on him. He was about to catch him. My man's was like, not today, officer. Right? He did one of them over the wall, you guys, over the wall. And he fell 4 stories. 4. And, you know, the purpose of that, me showing that video, is just talking about how, you know, it's so much easier to just comply, right? Like, he broke a lot of bones on his body. I remember it was covered here in Atlanta. It was like a big thing. You know, he was in the wrong, you know, and you're caught. So Bruh Man came on that night, and every time I see him come up, it makes me think of that stream, like Bruh Man from the Fifth Flow. You guys know Bruh Man from Martin. He would always climb in the window and stuff like that. So anyways, Little side joke. But yeah, but that situation was sad, man. It was sad, and that's the kind of stuff I hate when and I want to kind of prevent those type of situations where we could protect the lives of citizens, black men and black women, and even officers, by everyone just being cool. You know, if you're caught, you're caught. Like, just give it up smooth, and let's live to see another day. You know, when people respond like that out of fear, people make bad choices. People can get hurt. Officers can get hurt. Citizens get hurt. Things like that. And then even if an officer has it out for you, then you give the officer that excuse to be able to use a level of force that's probably not necessary, right? So my theme on this channel is always comply to survive. Comply to survive. That's my theme. So anyway, shout out to you, bro, man. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I really appreciate it. Daughter of Yah. Daughter, y'all, one of my members, shout out to you. She's one of my day ones, back when the brother had about 100 subscribers. She's been here through and through. I really, really appreciate it. She says, good to see you back, educating the people. Yes, rap music is demonic, super demonic. It is next level. It's next level. It's good to see people who are calling it out. Just pray that it makes the type of move, and we can all get behind a movement that really decides to clean the music up. So again, thank you so much, daughter of y'all. I appreciate it. So I like what both of these guys stated. You know, this is a business. They're making money off of us. We know this to be true. We know what it is, you guys. But why what he said was so important. And we got to talk about it. And good, we got enough time. Because I want to tie this into Bud Light. Some of y'all probably like, how is this Bud Light? I don't understand about Bud Light. I promise it all makes sense. It all makes sense. I thought this through. And then we're taking questions. Special shout out. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Shout out to my big homie. One more for the big homie. Disruptive minds in the building. What does he say? This is the big homie right here, guys. When I talk about sharpening iron, sharpening steel, this is who I sharpen with. The solution is to triage the Black community, help those who actually want the help and leave the rest. Gated communities and private security is already going on. That is true. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about that? Can everybody be saved? You know, that's one of the questions that's often brought up. This brother drops $100 super chat. Thank you. One more time. Let's talk about that. Triage the Black community. What does that look like? You know, when immediately when he said that, I said to myself, okay, when I hear triage, I think about this hemorrhaging that's going on within our community. We're bleeding out, you guys. We're bleeding out. Multiple areas bleeding out. I represent one area trying to stop the bleeding, you guys. That's criminal justice, that's policing. There's other areas. You have other people addressing those areas. We can't afford to be divided, right? Everyone needs to play their position. We can't afford to have those who are operating in wolves' clothing. You know, they're wolves amongst us. We can't afford them either, right? So what do we do? Oftentimes when I have these conversations with people, folks hate the messenger. Instead of focusing on the message, they're so concerned about the messenger. What do? A lot of times what I've seen is that we focus so much on the broken arm that we don't pay attention to the punctured lung. That's the Black community. The punctured lung is something that if that doesn't get fixed, the broken arm doesn't matter, you guys. It doesn't matter. Help those who want to be helped. I believe that, and I've kind of thought this through myself over the years. Like, you can't force people. You can't, hell, you can barely get people to have a conversation, a mature conversation. Okay. Well, what do? I believe that, yes, you can only help those who want to be helped. You can only work with those who are willing to work with you. I feel like the problem is with some people, the more you try to wake them up, the more you rock them deeper into sleep. That's the problem. You can't force it. Those who are going to go are going to go. Those who are not, they have to be left behind. Now, I'm a firm believer that you don't forget people. Though I had to leave your ass, doesn't mean I forgot your ass. That's how I look at it, right? I believe that our best and our brightest have to leave. We have to come together. We have to make a move. We can't wait on everybody. Michi brought this up. Everybody can't come with you. Everybody can't come with you to fix the problem. But I believe that our best and our brightest need to handle business. At the same time, there's a responsibility on us to dismantle the weapons that are formed against us. Because by doing that, you assure that the next generation doesn't have to battle them. So though I can't pull some of these grown men and women who are ignorant beyond belief, right? You can't do nothing for some of these folks. That's true. But every year there's a new generation of kids being born. Every year there's an opportunity to start over. You guys, the answer is within the seeds. The seeds are the children. That's where you put your focus at. That's where you put your focus. The problem, though, is these seeds are being planted in dangerous and toxic soil. So that no matter how you try to protect that seed, if the soil's no good, you guys, the likelihood that you're going to bear bad fruit. What do I say? I say the best and the brightest need to work on changing the environment so the new seeds have something healthy to grow into, something healthy to nourish their growth so that they can produce the fruit that's needed to push this thing forward. That's my vision. That's my vision. So yeah, we got to leave some folks, but they are not to be forgotten. Not to be forgotten. Change the environment, you'll change the behavior. That's my theory. It's my theory. Gated communities, private security, we got that. We do have it. We do have it. What would it look like to have it on a bigger scale? An alternative to 911. Something that's city funded. Now, the thing is, though, if we do that, and there's Black people who are now the new Black Panthers of these communities, right? We're serving, we're helping, we're policing, we're protecting our own communities. You have to then respect those people. See, regardless of how you cut it, you got to respect somebody. You got to respect somebody's authority. There's no way around it. Are the criminals in our community going to respect an alternative authority outside of police? I don't know. Not everybody. Not everybody. Do we think that because we remove the police and insert a private Black group to police us, that the criminals are just going to up and respect us? Not everybody. Not everybody. Those are the questions that have to be asked. This is not a fairy tale, you guys. When you come out here and really serve people, when you really, really serve people, then come back and tell me what you think. Then come back and tell. It's not as easy as you think it is. Talk to these teachers, talk to these other public service workers, talk to medical professionals. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. You would have to be a dictator, a malevolent one, a benevolent dictator, in order to fix the issues in some of these cities. You would have to be a benevolent dictator to fix a lot of the issues in these inner cities. Meaning, we're doing this whether you like it or not, because I know this is what's going to fix the problem. Some of these issues aren't going to be fixed without violating some people's rights. That's just my theory. Someone said, stop waking them up. It can work. It can work. You know, what we're missing is everybody knows what it's supposed to look like. Nobody knows how to get it that way. What do I mean by that? Everybody knows people, okay, perfect example, Chicago and the kids wilding out. I asked everybody, what is the solution? People say the homes. You got to fix the home. Okay, how do you do it? See, the problem with these things when we start talking about solutions is that people know what needs to be done. They don't know how to do it. Does that make sense? You have the solution, but you have no strategy. You have a solution, but there are no tactics. Then guess what? You have a destination with no roadmap. That's the problem, you guys. In a nutshell, that's the problem. Because if we had a roadmap, guess what? It'd be done. The reason why a lot of politicians aren't doing it because they don't know how. It costs a lot of money. You're going to have to violate a lot of people's rights to fix a lot of these problems. Guess what? The same way they cause these problems is the same way you're going to have to fix them. Violating people's rights. Listen, you guys, I'm a tactician. This is what I specialize in, solving problems. The same way they created the problem, they violated the rights, the human rights of African Americans in this country to create this problem and dysfunction that we see today. Guess what you got to do to fix it? Violate rights. What do I mean by that? You guys, you have to take control. You got to make people do stuff they don't want to do. You have to deny people certain things to fix the problem. I mean, that's just my theory. My theory. How do you fix a broken home? How do you fix broken homes by the thousands? How do you do it? People say, fix the home. Okay. How? What piece of legislation can you create to repair broken homes? Kids have to be held accountable. Okay. What are you going to do? 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds out here committing murder. Where do you put them? How long do you keep them there? What do you do with the home after you send them back? The dysfunction going on there. Single parent households, fatherless homes, men are in prison. Men don't want to be, I mean, there's a lot. And the men that aren't in prison, some of them just aren't worth a damn. Or some of them just can't get along with the baby mama. What do you do? How do you fix that? Then you got kids in jail, juvenile, they're not getting educated, they're not learning. You got places like Detroit, perfect example. The literacy rate, young kids, through the roof. Through the roof. Shout out to Chi-Town. Chi-Town just was on the news recently. I mean, y'all do got to see a kid swimming throughout the city, just carnage and chaos with no understanding as to why. What do you do? Nobody has the answer. Everybody says the parents. Okay. How do you hold parents accountable for not holding kids accountable? How do you do that? How do you do that? No one can tell me how that's done. Nobody has an idea. You can't do that without violating people's rights. Somebody in the chat right now, tell me, how do you hold parents accountable for not holding children accountable? Because when you say lock them up, guess what? That's another problem. Then who's going to take care of the house? Who's going to take care of the kid? You're locking the parents up. Then what happens? You guys, what's the answer? Did you see it was over 1,000 damn children out in Chicago running amok? You lock up all the parents? Okay. Now what? Does that fix the problem? What's the answer? Someone said Christ. All right. Go out there to Chicago, throwing oil on people's foreheads, see what happens. Mandatory parenting classes. Mandatory parenting classes. Okay. How do you do it? How do you get them to show up? If they don't show up, how do you enforce that? You see what I'm saying? It goes back to, listen, you guys, we got to think. How do you enforce a mandatory parenting class? How do you do it? I love the ideas, but come on, let's spit them out. Who's going to enforce that? You going to call the police to do it? You have a parent that doesn't show up to their mandatory parenting class, which, damn, I agree. Yes, parenting class. How do you get them to do it? They don't show up. Who do you call to make them go there? Are we now, listen, we talk about we're trying to scale police back. They're too involved in social issues. Now we want to integrate them back into the social problem, causing more confusion, causing more anger, causing more division. We need to get the police out of these social issues. I'm advocating to get police out of 80% of the social issues that they're dragged into. I'm not saying what you're saying is a bad idea. I'm saying that this is the problem. This is the problem. You have to force people to change. You can't ask them to, especially when certain situations, certain communities are too far gone. There has to be a level of this is how we're going to do it, whether you like it or not. And unfortunately, that goes against people's rights. There we go. Shout out to Double R. So you hit their pockets. You enforce fines by taking it directly out of their paychecks and government benefits. One of the best ways to do it, you guys, is incentivizing. If you want government funding, if you're under government funding, you're obligated to go to parenting classes. You're obligated to do this. You're obligated. If you want that check, and guess what? Also, if you want that check, while you're on this check, you cannot have any more children. You can't have any more children. You can't control the 8 that you already have. And we're still supposed to incentivize bad behavior? Absolutely not. You know, this system is causing so much dysfunction. It's assisting with the dysfunction. You got to hit people in the pocket. It's almost like the government would have to pay people to be better citizens. But I don't blame them. The government is largely responsible for the dysfunction that we're seeing now. What's the solution? You guys, I showed you that video about Bud Light. Bud Light. Let me play this clip, and then we're going to close it out.
Tonight, Bud Light's controversy is still brewing. The latest fallout, two top marketing executives on leave, a company spokeswoman telling the Wall Street Journal. So what spurred all the backlash about beer?
Impressive carrying skills, right? I got some Bud Lights for us.
It follows a polarizing and brief brand partnership with trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney during March Madness, who told her 1.8 million followers on Instagram that Bud Light sent her a can with her face on it, celebrating her first year as a woman.
Whatever team you love, I love too.
But for some fans of the brand, it was no cause to celebrate.
Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch.
The hashtag Bud Light boycott appearing online, and viral TikTok showing users pouring out the beer, destroying cans, and even going as far as pretending drinking the beverage leads them to change gender. Offline, a Florida restaurant refusing to sell Bud Light, telling our affiliate they removed the drink from its menu because transgenderism is in direct opposition to their biblical faith. But as the culture wars swirled around Bud Light, memes turned into misinformation. Videos like this are...
Why is this important? Bud Light. Bud Light. Why is this important, you guys, when we're talking about solutions? Anheuser-Busch sheds roughly $5 billion in value since Bud Light's Daley Mulvaney pack sparked outrage. You guys, Bud Light did this thing where they wanted to go what they call woke. Woke. They were advertising a transgender on their beer can. And the actual Bud Light drinkers, I'm not a Bud Light guy, I'm a Red Stripe, Heineken kind of guy, Guinness, but I'm not a Bud Light guy. I don't do anything light. About to make a bad joke. I don't do anything light. And I don't let go. Shout out to Six. What did they do? What'd they do? The people who drink Bud Light around this country said they don't like that. Don't push your agenda on me, dude. I don't want this a part of this brand. Or guess what? You can do that, but I'm not going to support it. I'm not going to support it. So what happened? No one had to put together a press release. There wasn't an email chain sent out to all the followers and supporters of Bud Light. They're advertising a lot of white people's frustration. I'm sure there's black people who drink Bud Light as well who weren't happy with it. Probably so, probably not. And there's some people who probably didn't care. They had Bud Light thought it was a good idea to put a transgender model on the can. And the followers and supporters of the brand said, not today. You can do that, but I'm not going to support it. You guys, in 5 business days of protest, it cost Bud Light over $6 billion. $6 billion. 5 business days of protesting. But this isn't they weren't marching, you guys. They weren't singing. You know what they did? They held on to their dollars, their money. You guys, the power is in our money. It's always been there. 5 days, $6 billion. Whew. You guys, that's powerful. Citizens have the power, you guys. We have the power. And the power is in our spending. Black people, we're the number one consumers in this country, and we're 14%. Lord knows we can spend some money. Lord knows we can spend some money. We can spend money, you guys. $5 days. That's on code. That's on code. I don't like what you're doing. This is not what I support or we support. It doesn't support my interests, my community. Shutting it down. Shutting it down. 5 days, over $6 billion. What do you think Bud Light is doing? Oh, my bad. Let me get this off. Hey. Oh, my bad. We're going to fix it. What are the competitors doing? Now everybody's like, we're a real American brand beer, and we don't believe in that wokeness. Yeehaw. At my company, we know the difference between a man and a woman, and we like our genders straight. Right? Listen, you guys. They said we're not having it. There's power in the dollar. There's power in the dollar. What's the solution? What's the solution for the Black community? Fight with your dollars. Fight with your dollars. Not with your mouths. Not with your insults. Not with your marching. But this right here. That's the solution, you guys. We got enough of it. Just the other year, we spent 1.6 trillion of it. We're number one consumers. We could topple the economy if we wanted to. Millennial Mark, shout out to you, brother. Say 5 days, 6 billion. America has a drinking problem. Facts. Facts. The power of what? Unifying your voice, staying on code, real code. And speaking with your money, not with your mouth. Speak with your money, not with your mouth. Heck will say ain't no code. Damn right ain't no code. We code listen in the Black community. We got to figure it out. Good values. Facts. Stick to cultural values. Let that be the code. Let culture be the code. Culture guides you, guides behavior. That's what we need to talk about. That's what we need to promote. Let cultural values guide and lead us. Therefore, you never have to worry about what a person's doing as long as they're following the cultural values. That's it. You'll never have to worry about what your neighbor's going to do because you know they follow the cultural values within the Black community. That's it. You never have to worry about how Black business is going to treat you because they're going to follow the what? Cultural values, honoring, respect, and integrity. You'll never have to worry about what this lady's going to do, what this man's going to do. Why? Cultural values. You know there's going to be respect. I know that even if we disagree on something, I know that we still are going to show each other respect, especially in a public place. Why? Because of a Shared culture values. Without culture, without values, you have nothing. We have nothing. Any questions, you guys? Any questions? If you have any questions, anything to close out, the Black Agenda movement was a success. It was a success, and I learned a lot. I met a lot of amazing people. I myself was inspired again, and motivated. And through those connections and being able to network with a lot of amazing people, I had an opportunity to meet Judge Joe Brown. I pulled him to the side. I said, "Hey, Judge, I think you'd be the perfect person to ask some of these questions to because you did the job. You did the job. Let's talk about it." He said, "All right, young man. Well, I think it's a great idea, young man. I think we could talk it out and figure out some things." I said, "All right." Judge Joe Brown's like a cowboy, y'all. He's like that Southern cowboy, Texan kind of vibe. Well, he's Tennessee. He is that Tennessee kind of thing. So that's going to be awesome. You guys, please go in the community tab. Look at the title with Judge Joe Brown. Add your questions. If you have a specific question that you would like to ask of him, please, by all means, go on there and add your question. If you haven't already, please follow me on these platforms. I really appreciate it. Any questions before we run out? Shout out to all those who have donated tonight. All of those. Shout out to the sponsor of tonight's stream, Disruptive Minds, dropping the $100 super chat. Shout out to you, brother, and also a member of the channel. Thank you so much. Any questions? Do we have any questions before we sign out? I think we did good. My goal was 2:30, but we almost there. Let me know your thoughts on this, you guys. Shout out to you, Millennial. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you. Shout out to all my moderators. I really appreciate you guys as always. I really appreciate you behind the scenes helping out. Shout out to all those who donated tonight. Shout out to the sponsor of the stream. I really appreciate you guys. Tough conversations as always, but I appreciate you guys being patient with me and willing to talk it out. I might do a stream tomorrow. We catch up on some of the YouTube drama, clarify some things. So I don't know. There's a lot to talk about. Then I got some traveling to do. So, but I got some updates to keep up. I got to keep up some things. Keep you guys updated on some things, and we have some awesome guests coming up to the channel. You guys, I think I got like 4 people who will be doing some guest appearances. Some great. I have a teacher I reached out to. I'm really excited about that. As you guys know, Judge Joe Brown. I have a presidential candidate who is running for president, and we'll be sharing more about that. She agreed to come and have a conversation on the channel, so I'm super excited about that. So something different, and just to have some talks, some dialogues and discussions. So please stay tuned for that as well. For the first time running into a presidential candidate, someone who wants to run for president and has some great ideas and things like that. So super dope, you guys. Really blessed to be in this position to have these conversations, and some controversial guests. I'll put the information up so you guys can put your questions. Like, if you had an opportunity to have a conversation with white supremacists, what questions would you ask? So I love having discussions and dialogue about different things and people who are different mindsets. So when will Judge Joe? Million Mark says, when will Judge Joe Brown be on? I'm waiting for him to give me the dates, some dates that's good for him. So we talked yesterday. And so that's all we're waiting on. It's just to kind of confirm like what days and things like that. Days and time will be best. I'm gonna try if I can. Speak of the devil. That's the brother right here. Shout out to Judge. He just texted brother. He said sounds good. All right, cool. All right, well, he confirmed the date. So you guys stay tuned. I will be putting out that date. I gotta see if we're gonna do it as a live stream. Or if we had, depending on how it goes, either do it as a live stream or pre-record. Just depends on what his schedule is like, and then we'll go from there. So he confirmed on the date that we set up. So yeah, we'll try to do it as a live stream. It's gonna get crazy. It's gonna get crazy. Yeah. Dang, I got all these ideas now. Anyways, let me let you guys go. Shout out to you, me123 with the $10 super chat. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for the love. I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Any last thoughts? Any questions? None people coming on our people speaking about. None people coming on. I know speaking about, but why do we need to know names? What does that help? Some people ain't shit, and leave it at that. What Michi talking about? Michi, Michi, what you over here? What you talk about in there? None people coming on. None people I was speaking about. Oh my God, Michi, you're awesome. I had a great time. I can't wait for Michi to drop the video and show the pictures of the event. What I love too, what Michi did, I think was super, super awesome. It was like an all black everything, you know. So she made sure. I remember when she was planning everything, she made sure there was a black venue, black photographer, black food catering, black everything, just supporting, giving back to people who have black businesses. There were black businesses in there that were selling items, oils, oils and stuff. Shout out to the there was a who brought that oil up there? I gotta shout out to them. So that was dope. I was responding to someone in the chat. Oh, okay. She always fighting somebody in the chat. Yeah. Great time. Michi, thank you again for everything. Thank you for all that you do. Your work will forever be appreciated. You're truly a blessing to a lot of people. And I definitely appreciate the kind words that you shared, about me on the panel up there on stage. That really meant a lot to me. And I think it also just really opens the door for things in the right direction. Just from people seeing how relationships can evolve in real time, how we can address the real problem, and not labeling everybody as a problem, but the people who are a problem as a problem. And I think it's a step in the right direction just in general. And so that's one of the things I learned the most about that the event. At the end of the day, we need to just really judge people by their actions, by their character, and what they are doing. And that's, it's a big part of it. So super excited for more events in the future that you plan on hosting. I'll definitely be ready. I feel like I got that rust off me. I won't say rust. That was like newness. So I feel excited to jump back in and do that. So thank you for all the work you do. Even the work that people don't know about that you do. And so truly, truly grateful. And you're truly an activist, a person who's doing the real work and making a real impact. So again, shout out to meet you guys. Please make sure you support people who are doing the real work. That's just the moral of the story. So and that's it. Yeah. So that was my experience, you guys, at the Black Agenda Movement. So, and that's my vision on solution. Man, let's hustle this dollars, man. Our dollars is where the power's at. We got it. We just need the right plan. We need the right people to help continue to steer us in the right direction. But the solution is always our money. Martin showed us a long time ago, So protest with your dollars. You can stay at home and do it. Ain't no all that. Some of y'all tired of marching. I know y'all are. I'm not a marching guy. I can't hold a sign up. I don't got the energy to be out there. I'm a behind the scenes kind of guy. I'll tell you that right now. But I can sure hold on to I'm cheap. I'll hold on to my dollar. Shout out to the person. Shout out to the person just dropped that. Hold on. Judge asking for the questions. He said, "What kind of questions?" I'm gonna give him some good questions. You guys, put those questions together, you guys, please, because I definitely want to make sure I do that. Ooh, shout out to. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Shout out to Crystal. I appreciate you with the $50 Cash App. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Dropping the Cash App one more time for Crystal. Crystal dropping the Cash App behind the scenes. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, you guys. Truly appreciate it. Also, you guys, please, if you want to check out, I don't want to give it away, but Otha Wallace. If you're not familiar with this case, please go and check out this link. Gail dropped it in the chat. Please check it out. This gentleman is fighting for his freedom. He was involved in an encounter with a law enforcement officer. And it turned tragic for the law enforcement officer, and now he's fighting his freedom. I did a show on him last year talking about his case. You guys, very interesting case. Here's a link if you want to support, donate to his funds. It goes to his lawyer fees to help his attorney fees and things of that nature. And so please check out the link. I think his story should be in there, but it is in the chat. Please go and check that out. He has a very interesting story, and I think his story is something that will have an impact in the criminal justice system permanently, have a permanent impact. And so I plan on speaking more about that story. I think it's important for us to share. It's a very interesting turn of events. But yes, more to come on that because he is facing the death penalty. But there are some questions as to whether or not the interaction was legal on the officer's point. And so now there's a conversation of, if you are illegally stopped and you're illegally detained by an officer, do you have a right to defend yourself? And that's pretty much the crux of his case. And there's a lot more to it as well. But he has an audience that's standing behind him, you guys. And so I spoke about his case before in the past, but that is his fund. If you guys want to support that, look more into it as well. And I do plan on speaking more about it in the near future. So stay tuned to that. And as a part of bringing solutions to these issues within policing and the criminal justice system, these type of cases I'm going to be covering a lot more as well. And how do we properly address it? What do we do? How do we do it? And what's the best way for us to navigate these things so that these things don't repeat themselves? And that's what I'm all about. Like, how do we keep this thing from being a reoccurrence? So anyways, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. You guys, thank you so much. Great conversation. Really appreciate your time. And with that being said, let these truths find you where the lies have left you. Good night and God bless.